Hello and welcome to Security Scan. I'm Vishal, Dahiya, and this week we will take a look at Beyond Visual Range Air-to-Air Missile Astra. Indian Air Force conducted a series of flight trials of Beyond Visual Range Air-to-Air Missile Astra from September 26 to October 3rd at the Integrated Test Range in Balasore. Designed and developed by Defence Research and Development Laboratory, Astra is country's first indigenous Beyond Visual Range AAM. It has completed all development trials as of now, and Astra has been tested for 6 times under different launch conditions and ranges as part of the final development trials. With Indian Air Force's active participation, DRDO has developed the missile and integrated the weapon on Sukhoi 30 and other air platforms. The missile is expected to be inducted into Indian Air Force in 2019. So what are the main features of this particular missile and how will it provide the extra heft to Indian Air Force? For more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of guests. Let me start by introducing them to you, beginning with Mr. Ravi Gupta, former Director of Public Interface of DRDO. We have with us retired Air Commodore Prashant Dikshit as well as our defense expert, and we have with us Mr. Ajay Banerjee, the defense correspondent from Tribune. Welcome all of you gentlemen to Rajya Sabha TV studios. Let me begin by trying to understand this particular missile. Let's begin with you, Mr. Gupta, as to what exactly are we looking at when we say Beyond Visual Range Air-to-Air Missile System?
Typically, the older versions of the missiles, they could work whatever is the range visible to the pilot. Now, Beyond Visual Range have longer range and they have their own advanced seekers, so that even much beyond the range which is visible to the pilot, they can work. That means a pilot is much safer because he can fire from a longer distance to the enemy's aircraft and scoot away.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll talk about the developmental part of it as well, and how the entire team at the DRDO along with the Indian Air Force came about making this particular missile indigenous. But let's bring in Air Commodore Prashant Dikshit here. Commodore Dikshit, if we talk about the air-to-air launch missiles, now these are considered to be the weapons which would be really important in the theatre of war. When we talk about Astra, we also say, and it is being clearly pointed out, that once this is deployed with the Indian Air Force, India will enter a club of nations which have these missiles like US, Russia, Israel and France as well. So is this something which is really important as far as Indian Air Force's perspective is concerned?
Certainly very important. No, this was a gap within us, and that we had to have a missile which deeper ranges of ability to hit. Warfare has changed. Airspace, you will have to be able to reach out to the encroaching enemy right up to 80 to 100 kilometers. That's the requirement which is coming up as one sees. We had such missiles in our arsenal. They were available in our frontline aircraft, Mirage 2000, the MiG-29, the Su-30. But this was the need to do this job ourselves. We had to be relying on ourselves. And this vision took place as far back as 1990. Although they sanctioned the job to produce Astra missiles only in 2004. And as usual, Bharat Dynamics has come to the front to join up with DRDO and produce this missile, and which SAL is fitted on. One thing I want to correct that. The trials which took place on those dates which you said are pre-induction trials. They are coming into us. And they are catching up with several other missile systems which are already in our inventory. As far as I see, the Mirage 2000 has got the Mica, which is another variant which came from the French. The Astra is similar. One has to see in a long period of time as to how the performances will be. But what delights me truly is that we have made this ourselves. And the DRDO is already venturing into making the Astra 2. And we would have caught up with what is futuristic. Mind you, futuristic changes are taking place, and some of these missile systems will join the inventory shortly. That's under dispute, so we are not talking about that subject. But that is already happening.
But that's one point which I wanted to bring about. Apart from the aircraft, if you look at the missiles which we are getting with it, with Rafale, the Meteor missile, if you do a rough comparison of the charts, between Meteor and what we are developing right now, Astra, which is in the final stages, as I said, the Indian Air Force will get it by next year. So are we on the right track here, and we just in the striking distance out there?
Let me say. A Meteor, as the pilots would claim, is capable of hitting 150 kilometers. Official public domain documents talk about 100 kilometers and 300 kilometers and some specified spaces. The Astra claims to do 75 kilometers. The Mica is doing 80 kilometers. We are already similar.
Okay.
And the Astra 2 is under development. In the fond hope that we would have arrived there, BVR works out to certain areas, For example, if you are already in a war zone and your combat aircraft are loitering in the scene, then there is a potential to be able to identify enemy targets in the distance. But in the years to come, when we enter the realm of stealth technology, that's an area where we'll have to test out whether our Astra kind of systems which we are developing are able to cope with it.
The beyond visual range will become more important.
Yeah, it will be, because even the beyond visual range, the radar acquisition is the singular factor. Let me illustrate. The missiles are launched. There is initial guidance, inertial guidance. Inertial guidance, and then there is, they got data links, so you can alter courses. For example, Astra is one-time shot. In inertial guidance, 75 seconds burn, home on, 4.5 Mach, close in, radar acquisition, hit the target, fragmentation, bomb, proximity fuse. All missiles similarly follow. But the Meteor which you stated has throttleable engines. So what it actually means, if I may use a simple layman's term, you can switch on the engine, let it flow, start the engine, alter the speed. That goes at 4 Mach, because it has to travel long distances and maneuverability is attainable.
Okay.
But this is all in the realm of what we read. Real understanding of these systems will come when Indian Air Force operates the Astra from Su-30, hopefully from Mirage 2000, hopefully from MiG-29. The Rafale is bringing his own set of missiles, as I understand.
Okay.
I don't know whether it's appropriate to discuss that.
No, we can definitely bring in all points as far as missiles are concerned. But let's, in the meanwhile, let me bring in Ajay here. And on one point, Ajay, which Commodore Dikshit pointed out, that, this project was commissioned in 2004. Now it's 2018 we're talking about. And it is being said that the missiles will be commissioned by 2019, will be deployed to the Indian Air Force. It's around 14, 15 years. Might look like a longer period, but when we look at other projects, other defense projects which were entrusted as far as indigenous indigenization is concerned, looks like Astra seems to have made it a bit early than what other projects have done.
See, Vishal, I'm overtly not worried about the timelines, because at the end of the day, we have made on our own. That is the biggest point. Dr. Gupta will help us out with the figures, I'm sure. See, the Astra will cost you much less than what you import the Meteor or the Mica. Secondly, the French hold those technologies for the Meteor or the Mica, which you already have. So that is the critical point, that you will hold the technologies, you will pay lesser cost. Technology remains in your own country. Your own boys and girls work in these factories and these as scientists in DRDO or Bell or HAL. Your own pilots are flying it, and you know its seeker, where it is going. You have the codes with yourself. So everything is controlled by here in India. That is the most critical aspect. So for me, the timelines in these such critical projects, you have to give them time. See, a child learns to walk, it takes time. Our scientists are doing a great job. This is a very big capability gap which has been covered, as Commodore Dikshit has pointed out. I'll bring out a little more layman's perspective to it, Vishal. See, an fighter aircraft today flying in the sky is supposed to hit several targets. They are different missions, probably a ship, probably at land, probably in the air. Not the same fighter jet, but probably in a group. Say, if a squadron is flying, they will have multiple missiles which can hit at these targets. So an air-to-air missile in today's supersonic age and the speed at which warfare is going, a beyond visual range missile with an air-to-air attack capability will increase the Indian Air Force's the prowess several times, besides the biggest golden word, it is our own.
Okay, wonderful. We'll go back to the Commodore on this aspect, but before that, before we do that, let's bring in Mr. Gupta from DRDO. Mr. Gupta, we've heard Commodore Dikshit and Ajay as well about the qualities and the characteristics of Astra. Now, how did it come about is something which our viewers will be very keen to know and understand from 2004 onwards, how the journey has been and where are we right now? How far are we before we hand it over to the ultimate user, the Indian Air Force?
Yeah, sure. See, one very good thing about this Astra project is that this is among those things which DRDO took the initiative, realizing the importance of the BVR missiles. And it was way back in late 90s when we started conceiving these technologies and started working on these technologies. At that time, we didn't have any kind of PSQR or something. So it was, we must thank our leaders like Dr. Kalam, and then the first project director, Dr. Golakota, who conceived these things and started working on various technologies packages. And also we must thank then the Director General, the head of the ADA, because that time he came up that yes, we are working on the stages and we will need a BVR, so you start working on this. And let us frame our own PSQRs, what will be required for the Tejas aircraft, and that's how the around 70 kilometer range which was visualized at that time. But then soon it was realized that a lot many see, the people think about the timelines. But whichever missile, whether it is Agni or whether it is Prithvi or whether it is Astra or Akash, whichever missile development we took up for the first time, we worked in an environment where we were totally blacked out by outside world. Total the denial, technology denials, regimes were working against us so that we don't come up. In spite of that, we worked. It might have taken time, but now I can assure that today we have reached a stage that in 2018 itself, we are totally self-reliant in all missile technologies.
Okay.
So whatever is required for the country, we can develop within our country, as Mr. Banerjee pointed out, that by our own scientists, for our own army people, Air Force people, and by our own industry.
And the most important, the codes will remain with us.
The codes remain with us. Every technology remain with us. Whatever way you want to play around, like we were discussing about longer ranges. Well, we are normally talking about 70 kilometer or 75 kilometer plus ranges. The range is actually slightly beyond that. It's around 100 kilometers or so. So already it is in the BVR range, number one.
Okay.
Secondly, we are already working on the Mark II, which Commodore Prashant Dikshit pointed out that throttle level engines. Now we have already mastered the technology of ramjet engines, which is already working in case of Akash missiles. And we are also have with us our BrahMos missile. Both are throttle level engines. So we already have those technology packages. Whatever is required, we have to simply put them together, and we have whatever we need for the country.
Okay, so you're saying that those all comparisons which you were making, they can be matched with as and when the requirements come in from the end users,
and they can be met in a much shorter time now. Now that gone are the days of a decade or so. We can, any missile required, we can develop within a period of about 2 to 5 years, depending upon. I'm talking of when we say 2 to 5 years. You see, the trials also take a long time.
Okay,
it is an iteration process. You conduct an experiment, what we say is trial, and then you have to collect the data, reanalyze it, and do some minor modification, further fine-tuning, and come up with the second trial, third trial. So that is something which is time-consuming everywhere in the world. Even the most advanced countries, they take this much time.
Okay, so timeline is not that important as Ajay was pointing out. Let's go back to Commodore Dikshit here. Commodore Dikshit, as Mr. Banerjee was also pointing out, and earlier we were also talking on this aspect of how this particular missile, which is indigenously made, and given the fact that we will be owning the technology, how do you believe it will give that required heft by meeting that capability gap which you were talking about earlier to the end user, that's the Indian Air Force?
Let's go back to history. Our neighbors in the West, namely the Pakistan Air Force, have had these missiles for several years now, which were given to them by the Americans. They were already reaching out to 75 odd kilometers. And I think when we had conceived in 1990 itself that there would be a need for such a system to come into being. Mind you, DRDO has caught up with several projects, and it took some time clearly to arrive at that near idea. The development took place. And our platforms initially used to carry simple magic missiles. Initially, we could not hit more than 5 kilometers, maybe 10. But when we talk of BVR, we have to always think of more than 20. Up to 20 kilometers considered within visible range.
Visual range.
So you had to go beyond. And then once you went beyond, you had to have matching radars. You know, the radars is the fulcrum of this operation. Apart from the engines which propel the thing, there's also the initial guidance system, but the radar is focal point. And you had to have that kind of matching radar systems. Now, our platforms which we have till today have adequately well honed up radars. And as you very well know, that the futuristic idea is to get electronic array radars for our AESA variety. So it will mesh. And that meshing has taken place. Let me make a very deeper statement. Weapon systems are not in isolation of their own. They are a combination of systems. I foresee in the years to come, when space-based assets will come into play and will combine in releasing weapon systems at the adversary, then maybe we'll have to go probably reach the ranges of 300, 400 kilometers. The S-400, for example, which you are acquiring now, which I think we discussed in your portals some time back, we are aiming at to catch the incoming missile in the launch off phase itself. That is the way. So, and there are ground radars will have to come into play. So, I actually look at that we in Indian airspace management or Indian airspace battle management, we are acquiring when we are getting compatible systems. All that we have to do is to work together with scientists and equipment makers, our own, the one which has made this missile, MDL, the aerospace, HAL, and build this facility. And I think I'm very, very optimistic that we will have our own system delivering to us in the years to come. And mind you, this race has to be run.
Okay.
We can't stop.
Obviously, this is something in which we will have to keep running. Ajay, on this aspect of providing that as heft, as Commodore Dikshit was pointing out, in the future years, the kind of wars which will be fought, if need be, will be entirely different from what have been fought in the earlier days. So obviously, the technology will keep on improving. And that point which you made that, ultimately the most important aspect here is that we will own the technology. So would you say that this is the first and the most important step?
Owning technology is a very important step. Vishal, see, no country gives you technology for free. We had a good relationship with USSR. They gave us some things which we made out here. At those given points of time, say like the MiG-29 in the early 80s was a wonderful plane. We are told at those times it was considered the top plane. Or the MiG-25 were considered top spy plane. Those are technologies given at those times because of the Cold War. Today, no country parts with those kind of technologies. You will not get it. Possibly a nuclear submarine is another example, the Chakra which we have. What we need today is that such kind of missiles like the Astra need to have multi-platform usability. For example, look at the example of the Boeing P-8I maritime reconnaissance aircraft. It carries Harpoon anti-submarine missiles. It can fire at a missile. It can fire, a missile at a submarine undersea or at sea. Now, these things, I believe the Astra or its bigger version could also be mated with the other aircraft, like for example, a refueler, for example, a transport plane, so that those planes are not, I would not say unarmed, but they are at least able to protect themselves or attack aircraft or enemy projectile which they see, they can attack that. And whereas the warfare will change, Vishal, nobody knows how it will happen in 15 years. Possibly drones will take over everything. Nobody knows. That's a matter which probably the Air Force itself, all over the world are debating what will happen in 15 years from now, because it could be space-based assets, could be totally drone-based warfare. The dogfight, the traditional dogfight of fighter jets is already possibly gone, the last of dogfights. We have already seen that. Possibly beyond visual range missiles will mean that a new kind of warfare is emerging in the air. Now the next point will be possibly drones, Vishal.
Okay, so but we will have to go ahead and keep on bridging those capability gaps as pointed out by you. Let's just take one concluding comment each from all three of you. And one very interesting aspect, Mr. Gupta, when I was looking at all the details, was that this is one of the smallest missiles which has been developed by the DRDO. What else is happening? What else is in the store as far as we talk about developing technologies, with DRDO and other allied agencies are concerned? Specifically when we talk about missile systems.
In the process of developing the Astra missile, we have developed a large number of such niche technologies, which makes Astra a contemporary BVR missile. Now, to name a few, it has got a very, very advanced active seeker. And it has a capability to launch, to lock on before launch as well as after launch. Lock on after launch gives a very, very big advantage to the pilot, because it simply locks onto the target, which is even almost 70 or 80 kilometers away, and then scoot, go away, and the missile will take care of itself. Similarly, the propellants which have been developed by one of our laboratories, HEMRL in Pune, it is a smokeless, totally smokeless propellant. So once it's fired, normally you will see when the missile is fired, there is this thin line, white line going along the missile. So it tells from where it was fired. And that gives an idea that where to seek the person, the aircraft which fired it. Now it doesn't happen in this case, because there is no smoke. So there's big advantage. And these are again developed by our own people. Similarly, it has got kind of a very, very advanced ECCMs. That is electronic countermeasures. And of course, every aircraft, they will have their own measures to protect themselves. It counters them. So all these technologies, they are the building blocks.
Okay.
Besides, I just mentioned a few more, like the maneuverability. It has got very wide. It can go withstand up to 30 G. 1 G is the normal, the force of gravity which we experience when you're moving on a road at a high speed and suddenly take a turn. You feel a lot of force in one direction. Now that is much more enhanced in case of aircraft. Human body cannot take up more than 9G. So most of the aircrafts are having built for about 9G or so. This missile can withstand up to 30G. So it can just zigzag whatever, once it is caught and it is locked down, the aircraft cannot escape.
Okay, so it's the best in the business.
One of the best in the
Okay,
among the best.
Okay, Commodore Dikshit.
Yeah, the Ajay's remark has actually got me thinking about the nature of warfare. Several years ago, I was speaking to an Air Force chief, a very close friend of mine, and he said, Prashant, we are developing capacities. So therefore, we can play around. One is, years ago, there was a statement made by a Royal Air Force chief that the future wars will be fought by unmanned aerial vehicles, drones he talks about. Now, so as you see, in the Indian scene, we are arriving at equipping itself with several systems which are possible for deployment in various areas. Drone, for he said so, this is DRDO's special baby. Nobody has developed drones in India except DRDO. But we still have to buy. For example, we bought the Avenger, we have Guardians and things like that. So in the years to come, what will happen is, we'll have to have adequate capacity in your manned platforms to deal with the thing and gradually shift on to the new variations which are coming. This is the way the process of developing capacities of warfare will have to be fashioned out, and that is what we are doing.
Okay.
But as far as we do within ourselves, and which is our own, I think we are eminently successful. That's what the point which I am trying to make.
Okay, wonderful. The concluding comment from you, Ajay.
Vishal, I would say the country needs to back the DRDO and the scientists out there with all its might, all its money and all its, जिसे कहते हैं जिगरा हिंदी में, with everything you have, back them. But give them timelines, strict timelines, especially when the missile has been made. Say how many can you make in say 5 years? Those timelines. Development will take time. I agree with that. But once the missile is made, how will you make more? Say the Tejas has been made. 100 more. How long? Say 5 years, 7 years. That's it. Not more than that. 20 Tejas are needed every year. For example, the speed has to be set.
Okay.
But we have made a Tejas good. What about next? So the speeds have to be set for the production lines. That is a very vital thing.
Okay, wonderful. So what our panelists are pointing out is that we will have to keep on building on our capabilities and bridging those gaps, also ensuring on the way that all these systems can work in better coordination with each other when required. We'll come back again next week with a different guest and different topic. Till then, keep watching Rajyasree Television.